Wow. Hey, much love and respect. Thanks for tuning in once again, guys. Today we're just going to be reading a book. Has a lot of good info on it. I have a lot of books that I've been sitting on for years. I'd be forgetting I have them. They contain a lot of good information that corroborates all the research we've done over the last couple years. So today I'm going to read one of those books. We're going to discuss the information that's in it. A lot of it, we already have gone over it. A lot of it, you guys already know. A lot of it, we have already proven. It's literally like a list of things that are not mentioned, that are not talked about when it comes to ancient, advanced technology around the world. But we always focus on America, so I'm going to read out a lot of the unknown, hidden technology and advanced civilizations that were here in the Americas. Again, if you're new to my channel, make sure to catch up on all the presentations. We have over 400 presentations in the last 5 years. Again, today we're just reading one specific book, but it's going to talk about a lot of things, a lot of different subjects, and things that you might find amazing. Again, a lot of it can be further researched, each topic they mention. If you like to do the research on your own, you'll see that you can verify almost every single piece of information you're going to hear today that's coming out of this book. So yeah, I just want to get these books out the way and provide them to you in case you like to read them yourself fully. Hope you guys enjoyed this presentation today. Thanks again for being here. Let's get started. All right, so we're going to get into this book right here. It is called Dead Men's Secrets by Jonathan Gray. His whole point of introducing this is like, could there have been other people with more technology in the past that were already, that had satellites, that had the technology we already have today? Is this something new? So this is kind of like the idea of this book, to basically talk about forbidden archaeology, forbidden history. These are things that would change what we have learned in school. So that's just why it's not really taught to us what has been found all over the place, all over the world. We have numerous accounts already from previous videos of what they have found here in the Americas, as you guys know. He says down here, gradually the pieces seem to be fitting together. I was beginning to wonder, what if something very big had happened on this planet in the past? Something so big it wiped traces of just about everything from the face of the earth, except for a few clues upon which we were now stumbling. I can imagine what you are thinking at this moment. You're probably intrigued, but skeptical, right? Prehistoric man could never have produced such things as Earth-orbiting satellites and spark plugs. Yes, I know. The 19th century evolution theory was hammered into us as school children, all right? And still taught in all places of learning. That's pseudo. Darwinism and out of Africa theories, all that is pseudo. It's still hammered into us as school children, till today. The story goes that we ascended from savages to our present civilized state by a slow, uninterrupted development. The question now arises, could this be a myth? To us right here, all of my followers, Drop Nation, everybody, oh, we're not fooled. We're not still thinking, we're not really asking that. We know it's a myth. We do not come from monkeys. If you think you come from a monkey, that's you. I don't. And most of the people that follow me, they don't. And then people would be like what it says here, but hasn't evolution been proved? Good question. No, not a real good question, because people are only asking that based on what they heard in elementary school. They haven't really researched it. And no, it's a theory. Remember, there's still a so-called missing link that hasn't been proven at all. The truth is, evolution has always been only a theory. Yes, it is often presented as a fact, even though it is impossible of any really positive proof. Would it surprise you to learn that not in one spot, but all over the world, impossible ancient inventions have been surfacing of late, and some of them from a technology as advanced as our own? Did you know that nearly all writings of ancient peoples worldwide tell the same story? That of a decline from an original golden age? That a cataclysmic disaster wiped out the advanced world? Now here is the crunch. Today, diggings all over the globe show that these traditions tally with the facts. Enormous stone masses or metal fragments are there. Listen, We're talking about all my mud flood researchers out there, the reset, global reset. It all fits together. It's what we're talking about. It's what we're finding in these newspaper articles. Again, enormous stone masses or metal fragments are there. They cannot be argued away. This is tantalizing. Very much so, right? And we also got, behind a lot of what we think is rock, granite, and you chip away a little bit. And, when you're in a forest and you end up finding bricks, red bricks and masonry, like it's a real wall, like it's been melted or something, right? Shout out to Paul Cook going out there, boots on the ground, doing great research, showing us these amazing places in England, old world. Like, wow, check out Paul Cook, great channel. Basically correlates with what we're reading today, what he's talking about, right? It says, actually, the concept of an original advanced world, which gave impetus to all succeeding civilizations, is well within the framework of scientific thinking. What is more, I believe this to be such a credible reality that no longer can we evade it. The story about to unfold concerns a technology whose citizens were rich beyond our dreams. I shall show you how a global flood minced it to atoms, how subsequent attempts were made to revive the lost glory, and how a fiery holocaust intervening, most of the survivors became savages. It's time the truth was out. So many theories have been foisted on so many people for so many years. We'll never know all the facts, but there's enough to ignite an explosion in conventional circles. And when you consider we're stripping bare our secret past, our own early days on planet Earth, our very own family history, it grows exciting indeed. I suspect that as the evidence progressively interlocks, you may sense the swelling excitement of one who has suddenly touched down upon some unknown new planet. The discoveries are explained in every language in order to kindle interest within the general population. It's a tale of vast riches, forfeited, forgotten, and found. There is something ominous here. We have early in the 21st century awakened to find ourselves in the superculture arena. As we leap to new, unimagined heights, we suddenly come eyeball to eyeball with our past, awakening to the realization that we've been here before. Last time as now, the world scene was overshadowed with violence and corruption. The end was almost total annihilation. One is tempted to ask, might something like this happen again? Could a holocaust be looming of such proportions that it will parallel the first wipeout? We may be better able to evaluate this question at the close of our probe. Meanwhile, our excursion into the past offers a feast of hidden delights. Let's begin. All right, so that's the prologue, a little bit of it. I didn't read all of it, but I just want you, the author's kind of way of thinking and why he kind of wrote this book. And he actually went out and did all this research and went to all these places. So, all right, just real quick, wanted to show this table I found in this book. And it's comparing the writings found in America with Egyptian. Oh, let's go read it. It says, Figure 2, comparison by Larry E. Arnold of scripts from ancient North America. All right, this is found in North America, rock art. So NA is North American, and then it says E is Egypt, C is China, and I is Indus Valley, and Easter Island indicates a common origin. All right, so let's go back up. Got North American, Egyptian, same thing, right? North American, Egyptian, same thing. All right, down here again, same thing as almost in Egypt. All right, so these are the different comparisons. Again, this was found in North America, not over there on that side. All right, so I wanted to come to chapter 3 real quick before we start reading about what has been found here in the Americas. So what they're going over in this chapter is some ancient maps, right, that show places that they shouldn't have known about in this time. Like, for example, they're going to talk about the Sino map drawn in 1380. It says, see how accurately it outlines the coast of Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Germany, Scotland, as well as the exact latitude and longitude of a certain number of islands. Just a minute, Phil, Heron cut in. The chronometer necessary to determine longitude was not invented until 1765. He's right, said Perch. That is why the readings of Columbus were all inaccurate. Nevertheless, the Sino map is most accurate, insisted Corduroy. And notice the topography of Greenland is shown free of glaciers, as it was prior to the Ice Age, alright? No glaciers there. Unknown rivers and mountains, shown on this Sino map, have since been located in probes of the French Polar Expedition of 1947 and 1949. What do you think of that? Silence. So that's one map that they're talking about here. We're going to show the map. And they mention other maps, like the Mercator chart of 1569 that depicts only the Antarctic coast left uncovered by glaciers. How did they know that? And so on and so on. They got a lot of maps they mention here. One of them, very interesting map, a lot of you know about. I've talked about this in one of my very old videos. Is the Piri-Reis chart or map. Now remember, 1513, that's about what? That's only like 20 years later after Columbus. So you're saying they already had mapped the whole coastline of South America and all that in Antarctica? Watch what it's going to tell us. It says, this is the Piri-Reis chart of 1513, he began. After his discovery, Captain Arlington H. Mallory, an American authority on cartography, asked the U.S. Hydrographic Office to examine it. The U.S. Navy, through Commander Larson, subsequently issued this statement. Corduroy took his notes and read to us. All right, so this is what they're saying. The U.S. Navy Hydrographic Office, U.S., okay? They're saying the Hydrographic Office of the Navy has verified an ancient chart. It's called the Piri-Reis map that goes back more than 5,000 years. It's so accurate, only one thing could explain it: a worldwide survey. The Hydrographic Office couldn't believe it either at first. But they not only proved the map genuine, it's been used to correct errors in some present-day maps. Corduroy grew excited. I say, if ever there were a treasure map, this is it. Just crammed with priceless gems. It tells the story of ancient coastlines, as well as the surprising exploits of our ancestors 5,000 years ago. Piri-Reis stated his copy was a composite from 20 ancient maps, so let's explore it. I took a pad and noted the following features. All right, so this is what you can see in this map. South America and Africa in correct relative longitude and latitude. Not only were the Caribbean, Spanish, African, and South American coasts in correct position relative to each other, but even isolated land areas like Cape Verde Islands, the Azores, the Canary Islands, as well as topographies of the interiors, mountains, ranges, peaks, rivers, plateaus, all were accurately positioned by longitude and latitude. The coastline of Queen Maud Land in Antarctica. All right, listen to this. The islands and bays of the depicted coastline are the same as they appear below the Antarctic ice sheet. They had that already mapped, as recently revealed by seismic echo soundings. Pictured in great detail are regions scarcely explored today, including mountain range that remains undiscovered until 1952. Interestingly, the map shows two bays where the modern seismic map showed lands. However, when the experts were asked to check their measurements, they found that the ancient map was correct after all. One thing was crystal clear: either somebody had mapped Antarctica before the ice cap covered the continent, or else the ice-covered continent was mapped with very sophisticated instruments, okay? The isles of Pines, Andros Island, San Salvador, Jamaica, the mouth of the Amazon, and the island of Morajo are all correctly shaped and perfectly located in latitude and longitude. A major error appeared to be Greenland, shown as 3 islands. But during the International Geophysical Year, it was proved that this correctly represented the state of affairs about 3000 BC. That's what it looked like in 3000 BC, according to their science too. Every mountain range in northern Canada and Alaska was recorded on this ancient map, including some ranges which the U.S. Army Map Services did not have on their maps. All right, even land that they haven't even mapped out, they found on this ancient map. But the U.S. Army has since found them. All right, so here's a little image they got of it. We're gonna go right now to check out, a better image of it. All right, so real quick, before we continue, this is the Sino map they're talking about. from 1380, right? 1300s. And this is what they were saying, where you can see Greenland with no snow. It has mountains and rivers. You got Islanda, which sounds more like an island than Iceland, right? Up here you got Krola, India. Let me just zoom in real quick on Greenland. Maybe you guys can see it has rivers, mountains, and everything. We got Frisland, that might be Ireland. And it's Scotland, that might be Scotland. I'm not sure, but Norway over here, Switzerland, and some other places here. So think about this now. So if somebody in 1380 was able to draw this detail of all these places, right? If they were capable of map making like this, you think they weren't capable of going to America, which is right next to Greenland? Canada, Newfoundland is right next to it. 1380, all right? This is way before Columbus. So this is why this is important. This is what that author is trying to say about, you know, this shouldn't exist. This shouldn't be mapped out yet in 1380. All right, this is the other map they mentioned before, the Piri Reis map from the 1500s. And usually this is the image you find online. And it's hard to tell, you know, what you're looking at if you don't really know about the map. But found a pretty good image. Wanted to go ahead and show you. You know, this right here in the bottom is literally America. I'm going to show you what I mean. Let me just flip it real quick. So here it is, flipped clockwise. And right here, what you're looking at on this side is Africa. This right here would be the Atlantic. And over here, South America with some interesting drawings. As you guys can see, we got the chest face mofos right here. Shout out to Nine Spiral. Then we got the dog face mofos, you know. Sinophiles. What's that called? Shout out to Drop. So we got Central America right here. You know, Panama, Costa Rica sticking out. Some of the islands in the Caribbean. All right, so this map right here specifically is not all of it. It's just a piece of a larger map. Let me show you. It's very blurry. I found this image online. It's the same map. We only have this piece over here, but I'm assuming so you guys can see it's the same map. This is Africa, and again, as you guys can see, this is South America. Europeans had not mapped the whole of South America like this, or even Antarctica. Yes, in this map, let me show you. South America keeps going and it's attached to Antarctica. Antarctica has animals and everything. You see there's a couple islands down here. You know, they know. In the larger map, not only can you see South America down here, I know again it's a little blurry, but up here you can see Florida. This right here is Florida. All right, this is the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, so as it says here, dating back to Turkey in 1531, the Piri Reis map is a detailed map of the American and the Atlantic Ocean, possibly even Antarctica, as I was just saying, before it was fully discovered by the Europeans, all right, before all that. It is so detailed and complex that it indicates the cities, civilizations, and maybe even extraterrestrials. All right, they always got to try to put in their alien stuff, right? When the Piri Reis map is redrawn to correct the Eratosthenes error, all existing longitude errors on the map are thereby reduced to almost zero. This can mean only one thing. Do you see? The Greeks who mapped according to Eratosthenes' circumference had before them source maps which had been drawn without that error. The Greeks, listen to that. So the Greeks copied their maps from, you see, all their ancient maps. Remember the Greek mythology, a lot of that stuff, a lot of their gods coming from Atlantis or the Atlantic Ocean. Thus, the geographical knowledge on which the Piri Reis map is based ultimately originated not with the Greeks, but with an earlier people who possessed a more advanced science of map making than even the Greeks. That's brilliant, exclaimed Perch. Couldn't do better myself. What you're saying is that while Greece and Rome were developing new civilizations, the vestiges of an older one, seemingly worldwide in scope, was vanishing. It left these maps which were partly incomprehensible. So later, cartographers altered them. Yes, I can see that. There's just one more thing, said Corduroy. The evidence indicates that What we have here is only part of an original world map. He paused. Oof, whistled Washman. So here it was evidence of science in an early epoch, which is considered to have had none. Here were physical fragments of the amazing knowledge of a super culture long vanished. We spread out 6 pieces of the jigsaw, facts which were now apparent concerning those early explorers. So I just want to pause real quick and remind everybody about my ancient seafaring, the ancient navigators coming out of America. You know, the videos I did on that, we were going all over the world. I just want to remind you guys of that. What he's about to list right here is what the ancient Americans possessed. They possessed a knowledge of cartography comparable to our own. They knew the correct shape and size of the earth. They used spherical trigonometry in their mathematical measurements. They utilized ultra-modern methods of projection, exact coordinates. They must have had at their disposal advanced geodetic instruments and trained specialists to use them to measure longitude and latitude. Totally lost and not developed in the modern world until the end of the 18th century. Okay? The inheritors, right? The inheritors, yeah. Shout out to John Levy, Mind Unveiled, you know, some of the channels pointing out the inheritors. The picture falling into place was this: almost 5,000 years ago, somebody undertook a survey of the whole planet. The technology at their disposal was very sophisticated. All right? That's basically what they're letting you know, okay? So we go to chapter 10 of this book. This part of the book is talking about the extent of ancient travel. Done numerous videos, you know, showing that was definitely going on. Ancient people were seafarers going around the world. Columbus was not the first person to come to the Americas, or vice versa. We were going out from here as well. That's right. There was a time when the whole world was known. Travel around it was regular, safe, and profitable. Then most nations lapsed into a subsistence economy. The trade routes, dead and forgotten. Travel to North America. Records of other nations. A Tibetan record of at least 300 BC contains a map of a green land lying far across the Eastern Sea. Example, the Pacific, all right? We're talking about the Americas in a Tibetan map. Says here, Greek navigators spoke of islands in the Western Sea, example, the Atlantic, with a great mainland beyond America. Also regions where for 30 days on end the sun sets for little more than an hour, and for several months the night is faintly illuminated by the western twilight, the polar regions. And countries where there was a day for 6 months and night for 6 months, all right? So they were traveling, they knew. Egyptian priests told the Greek Solon that the Atlantic is a real sea, and the surrounding land may be most truly called a continent. Example, America, all right? That's the story of Atlantis. They're telling you straight up. Example, America, all right? Check out our Atlantis videos, my series, Untold Ancient American Truth. If you haven't checked out that series, a lot of different parts, up to like 17 parts, I believe we're on. Says here, according to interpretations of texts by Plato and Diodorus, Phoenicians traded with America around 1000 BC. Who's the Phoenicians? Check out my series, Nations of the World, my Danites video, my top videos, Enoch, Phoenician, Fenian, the sea peoples, the seafarers. Seneca, 1st century, they're talking about a Roman, right? Seneca, a Roman man, speaks of lands between the east coast of Asia and the west coast of Europe. Example, the Americas, right? He was specific. It's in between Asia and Europe. Okay, lands, what? America. He says that one day vast new lands will offer themselves to human view. Strabo, born 60 BC, writes of other inhabited lands and says that a huge continent will be discovered one day. How did he know, huh? Massachusetts, look what it says. An underwater rock carving in Lake Assawamsett, Massachusetts was temporarily exposed when the waterline receded during a drought in 1957. It clearly portrayed a shape of ancient Phoenician or Minoan style, suggesting it was in size when the sea level was lower and the level of inshore waters corresponded. All right? A Phoenician ship. Remember, those so-called Phoenician ships is just like the big canoes we had over here in the Americas. We were sailing with them. Look just like the Phoenician ones. And remember, Danites are coming from the promised land. What's the true promised land? Tennessee. A stone found in 1885 near Morganton, Tennessee. Born inscriptions speculated to be recent Indian. However, when the stone is turned upside down, the letters spelled a message in ancient Canaanite. For Jehu, an example of an inscription having been looked at upside down for almost a century. Canada. The Mi'kmaq clan of the Algonquin Nation wrote in 2,000 characters of pure Egyptian hieroglyphics. All right, you guys can actually research that. All right, that's true. Arab remains in America are fairly numerous. Okay, New Hampshire. A stone labyrinth with Minoan-like inscriptions and of a similar construction to that of 3,500 years ago stands at Mystery Hill, New Hampshire. Iowa. An American Rosetta Stone called the Davenport Stele, found 1874 in the lower levels of an Indian burial mound, contains inscriptions in 3 languages: Hieratic Egyptian, Iberian Punic, and Libyan. All right, this is corresponding with the newspaper articles we're finding, and also the other book we read about all these inscriptions they're finding all over America. That video I made with the same exact finds with these 3 inscriptions as mentioned here. Harvard professor Barry Fell, all right, by Barry Fell, and America BC, that's the book we're talking about, that's the one we read, remarks that this stele is genuine because neither the Iberian nor the Libyan scripts had been deciphered at the time it was discovered. So it couldn't be a hoax. Nobody knew that script. They're letting you know. Great Lakes region. Two-way transatlantic trade around 2500 BC is indicated by woodworking tools and fishing gear found in the Great Lakes area, and in ground slate knives found in Scandinavia and the Baltic countries. Okay? It's been going down. General. Distinctive pottery of North America, 1000 BC, closely matches Baltic pottery of the same age. Georgia. Manfred's Metcalf found a stone which bears a Phoenician script used around 2000 BC. All right, the Metcalf stone. We've gone over that in previous videos. All right, so make sure to catch up to all the previous videos if you're new to the channel. And we got a lot more coming. All right. It says here, Tennessee. In 1970, the Bat Creek stone from Tennessee was positively identified as being of Hebrew origin. All right, we've done a video on the Bat Creek stone, actually a couple videos. All right, it's Hebrew origin. So was an amulet recovered from a very old tomb. Caches of coins dating from the Hebrew Bar Kokhba rebellion against Rome in AD 132-135 have been unearthed in Kentucky and Tennessee. Okay, this is happening here in America, in the true old world. Georgia. In 1973, Mrs. Joe Hearn was digging in her backyard when she unearthed a metal tablet containing a cuneiform script called Classic Ur II, which was in use in the Middle East 4,000 years ago. Ur, right? Coming from Ireland, Ur. Similar authenticated finds are common all through the United States. Inscriptions on buried temples, on tablets, on gravestones, and on cliff faces. All right, we've gone over a lot of those finds already. It says here, Mexico. Sculpted heads dated from as early as 1500 BC show unequivocally bearded Jews, African Negroes, and other distinctive racial types. All right, this is how they classify people. All right, we had these phenotypes here. This is the true old world. This is the part that people gotta understand. Guatemala, in both the Mayan calendar and Near Eastern calendar, the same sequence of animal types is used in the same order to represent each month. Even the orientation date for these calendars is the same, approximately 3000 BC. Mexico and Peru. Many finds in Mexico and Peru display Chinese and or Buddhist features. Okay? Remember, his name is Guatemala. His mother is Maya. South America, general. Thousands of inscriptions on South American standing stones and dolmens contain letters from early European and Mediterranean alphabets. The same is true of weapons, implements, and crockery found in South America, okay? Ecuador, pottery 5,000 years old is almost certainly Japanese in origin. It has to be Japanese. All right, again, they're seeing it in reverse. Ecuador, during my 1967 expedition to remote jungle villages in the Amazon headwaters, I came upon Egyptian hieroglyphics on metal plates. Okay? Ecuador, every race in the world is represented in statues found in a very ancient city on the seabed just offshore near Guayaquil. There are Aryans, Semites, Caucasians, and a race looking remarkably like modern Japanese. Ecuador, artifacts found in caves deep in the jungle near Tayos include several superb wood statues carved in the Pacific Oceanic island style and depicting Negroid men and women, Negroid, okay? Mahogany Adam and Eve with definite Semitic features, bronze images of Egyptian princesses and Assyrian gods. Again, they're finding this in Ecuador, okay? Remember, the Tayos is where they found all this. A lot of this stuff was being brought to Father Crespi. We got a video on that, all the stuff they were finding there and bringing to Father Crespi. This is what they're talking about, okay? Bronze images of Egyptian princesses and Assyrian gods, okay? A plaque of Caucasian men writing with a quill pen. Phoenician bronze calendars, a large aluminum sheet depicting the Greek goddess Athena.
A little over a year ago, we shared the story surrounding a mysterious discovery that was once claimed to have been made deep within cave systems within Ecuador, which some believe were originally man-made. A discovery that, although now concealed from the world, was photographed, studied, and documented thanks to the array of artifacts which had been amassed by an individual known as Father Crespi. An entire, seemingly alien metallic library, complete with hundreds of sheets of gold, platinum, and other precious metals, hammered out to reveal an astonishing, unknown language, clearly left by a people of tremendous capabilities. The caves in which this find is claimed to have been made is known as Cueva de los Teos, and although such discovery is denied by the Ecuadorian authorities, the Ecuadorian and, interestingly, United Kingdom's governments funded an extensive search of the cave systems soon after the claims became public. It attracted the attention of numerous individuals who traveled into the depths of these caves, including Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon. What we wish to focus on this video, however, is the enormous, seemingly man-made caverns, which are found to be within the cave systems. We feel, if these cave systems are indeed one day admitted as having been artificially hewn from the bedrock, then this would undeniably reveal tremendous flaws in academia's claims as to the geology and indeed true history of the area. The cave system is so enormous, it has yet to be fully explored by modern man. Yet what has been explored has revealed highly compelling features, which corroborate earlier claims of an artificial origin. The Moritza portal, for example, named after Juan Moritza, the individual who claims to have originally discovered the metallic library, is clearly of an artificial nature. The question is, why go to such lengths to construct this natural-looking cave system? Was it all created merely to hide this library? And if so, how important could the information held within be? And why did such a find attract the attention of the first man on the moon? Did the astronaut know something we are yet to discover? Juan Moritza signed an affidavit dated 8th of July 1969, in which he confessed to a meeting with the Ecuadorian president, where he received complete control over his discovery, provided he could provide photographic evidence and an independent witness corroborating the discovery. When Moritza met with von Däniken in 1972, he took him to a secret entrance, through which they entered a large artificial hall within the cave system. Apparently, von Däniken never got to see the library itself. He wrote in his book, The Gold of the Gods, quote, "The passages all form perfect right angles. Sometimes they are narrow, sometimes wide. The walls are smooth and often seem to be polished. The ceilings are flat and at times look as if they were covered with a kind of glaze. My doubts about the existence of the underground tunnels vanished as if by magic, and I felt tremendously happy. Moritza said passages like those extended for hundreds of miles under the soils of Ecuador and Peru. End quote. We feel the question now is, who went to these unimaginable efforts so far back within history? Why create such a place deep within the earth with such an intended illusion of natural origin if you did not seek to hide something? Many still believe that the truth is still hidden deep inside its unexplored caverns, a truth that will force us to completely rewrite the history of mankind. Are the legends true surrounding Cueva de los Teos? Did it once indeed contain an ancient metallic library left to us by an ancient civilization? We find the evidence to suggest so highly compelling.
It says here, Amazon jungle, Ecuador. A plaque found in the Amazon jungle was carved in pure Libyan, which was also spoken by the Sunni Indians of southwestern USA. Peru. An inscription discovered 150 miles from Cusco relates that its authors, from the era of Egypt's first king Menes, had arrived from the Indus Valley, Pakistan. All right, this is what they're finding. Where? In Cusco, Peru, in the city of David. It says here, Peru, images of symbolic white, yellow, and black men, as well as a fourth phrase, unidentified, also animals from other parts of the world, and several figures resembling Egyptian sculptures stand on the plateau of Marcahuasi. All right, remember that we had all the animals here too, so it could be very old. Brazil, near Manaus, over 600 miles inland, was found a pot buried with an Arab inscription, Sakat Bahar, River Sea, dated at 4,000 years old, okay? Brazil, over 2,800 graffiti, some very ancient, have been found in Brazil, many in the heart of the jungle or on mountaintops. There are pre-Egyptian, Phoenician, and Sumerian scripts and hieroglyphics. At least 2,000 photographs of these have been taken. The earlier Indians had many ancient traditions of an advanced civilization that flourished thousands of years ago to the north and west of the central highlands, all right? And we've read a couple of books on that. Again, we've gone over some of this information, and we got more videos coming on a lot of these finds here in South America and Brazil and the jungle. It says here more in Brazil, Phoenician inscriptions have been found, which give the names and dates of the rulers of Tyre and Sidon. All right, check out my day and night video. So what we talking about then, huh? Brazil, in the province of Amazonas, the French engineer Apollinaire Fraud came upon an ancient carved rock hidden by dense jungle close to a river, which recorded the journey of a Proto-Egyptian priest to what is now Bolivia. The inscription gave directions to silver and gold mines. Stage by stage, such markers ran across central Brazil, all right? Proto-Egyptian, all right? They're coming from the Mississippi area, maybe? Illinois? What are we talking about, huh? Continuing with the book, we're moving on to chapter 16. I'm going to read a little bit here. It says, large-size construction, strange ruins on the seabed. A startling surprise awaited Captain Don Henry on that particular day in 1976. He was 40 miles off the southern coast of Florida, directing sonar soundings on the ocean floor. Suddenly, an immense pyramid-shaped structure showed up. It was 300 feet below the surface. Subsequent underwater closed-circuit TV was to show the pyramid to be about 420 feet high. Okay, we're talking about a pyramid here, 40 miles away from the southern coast of Florida, 420 feet high. A veritable skyscraper, nearly the size of the Great Pyramids of Egypt, okay? When 12 other pyramids turned up on a NASA satellite photograph of the Amazon jungle, noted author Charles Berlitz and Dr. Manson Valentine, curator of the Miami Science Museum, excitedly organized a major scientific expedition to the underwater pyramid, the first of its kind, which set out with a crack team of 15 archaeologists, researchers, and divers early in August 1978. At the same time, a NASA-supported expedition led by Florida explorer Philip Miller set out for the Amazon jungles of Peru, accompanied by a documentary film team to investigate the foliage-covered pyramids found there. Right? All this stuff that we don't know is up in the Amazons and these jungles in South America, Central America, North America, all these things that they keep from us that we don't even know, right? That exist.
You can see over here, Wilder, actually on the side of the pyramid type structure. I mean, it may not be a true pyramid, but so then you got the slope. Just give us an idea. Let's have a look. It's really just lined up. It goes all the way down to the river, which is way so down there. You've got a waterfall which flows down. And the top is sort of hidden away. What's really interesting here is you follow the line of stone, there's a hole, and it seems that there's a second layer of stone beneath the blocks. Now this is, and it's very smooth, it's the same kind of material, but there's a gap between the top layer of blocks and this smooth stone. Now this is pretty weird. You wouldn't expect that. I mean, just to give you an idea, let's see, I can sort of show you that this is, actually goes inside there. Now, it's a broom handle I've got with me. See, there's actually a gap in there. There's actually a hole underneath the stone. You know, idea the size of the hole. The broom, yeah. So it goes in pretty deep. Yeah. Doesn't look very natural, does it? Okay.
Continue, says Tijuanaco, Bolivia. Things that can happen have happened here. The site is built 12,000 feet above sea level. This is oxygen-poor air, in which the slightest exertion can cause nausea and worse. Yet blocks of up to 200 tons were maneuvered over distances up to 90 miles. In rarefied air, this is not possible by muscular strength. This grand complex was built with a technical skill embarrassing to us and by a method unknown to us. Here was a city of startling dimensions, all right? Here in Bolivia, okay? Acres and acres lie covered with truncated pyramids, artificial hills, lines of monoliths, platforms, underground rooms, and giant gates, which incorporate architecture beyond our technical scope at the present day. Many large gateways were built from a single stone. The Gate of the Sun is the biggest carved monolith in the world, a single block 10 feet high and 6 feet wide. The size of some of the buildings is astounding. The fortress of Acapana, 650 by 496 feet, was once a pyramid 167 feet high. The Sun Temple was on a platform 440 feet long by 390 feet wide, composed of blocks 100 to 200 tons each. Walls of the temple complex itself had blocks 60 tons each. Steps of the stone stairway were 50 tons apiece. Here were terraced temples like those of faraway Babylon and Nineveh. The walls of the palace were 220 feet long by 150 feet wide. Its throne room was 160 feet long by 130 feet wide. The steps from the palace entrance were washed by the lake, now receding and 50 miles away. The paved court under our feet is 80 feet square, with a covered gallery 45 feet on one side. Court and hall are one single block of dressed stone. Building blocks. One is 36 feet long and 7 feet wide, fitted without line or mortar and without any joint showing. Nearly every stone is micro-accurately cut and polished, nicked, mortised, and occasionally even beveled. Water conduits have a completely modern shape with smooth cross sections, polished inner and outer surfaces, and accurate edges. See these half pipes? They have grooves and corresponding protrusions that fit together. Plundered. Spanish invaders stole the interlocking copper or silver keys, which secured the stonework from earthquake damage. Until then, they had survived for thousands of years. Subsequent earthquakes leveled the structure. As late as the 19th century, there were imposing colonnades to admire, of which sadly there is now no trace. Many of the great buildings were dynamited, and untold treasures disappeared. One 24-foot statue remains. All right, you see, they were like blowing things up, destroying stuff, huh? Now we go to Sacsayhuaman, Peru. All right, make sure you check out my video on Sacsayhuaman, aka the city of David, the fortress, yes, the citadel. That is the fortress. It's going to read here. All right, it says here the ruined mountaintop fortress of Sacsayhuaman, Hawaman, Hawaman, pronounced sexy woman, overlooks the ancient capital of Cusco. All right, overlooking the lower city, right? The upper city and lower city, just like Jerusalem had. Its terrace walls are 1,500 feet long and 54 feet wide. Enormous blocks, up to 25 feet wide and of 50 to 200 tons, are so intricately flush one to the other, it is impossible to pass a knife blade between them. One block in an outer wall has faces cut to fit perfectly with 12 other blocks. There are other blocks cut with many as 10, 12, and even 36 sides, okay? 36 sides, guys, and with no mortar between them. Take notice how each fits exactly to the next touching stones from every side, including the inner surfaces. It defies belief. The whole system interlocks and dovetails, making the chance fitting of each block or the grinding back and forth in situ for a perfect fit impossible. Even if it had been possible, the power required to do this would be sufficient to supply the needs of a modern city. Do you see the problem? All right, you guys listening? This is what is in America. They're talking about savages. There was no people here, no great civilizations. And they can't tell you till this day who built Sacsayhuaman. The Incas even said that it was already there. Within a few hundred yards of the complex, an abandoned single block the size of a 5-story house weighs an estimated 20 tons. Yes, 20 tons, okay? Can you guys imagine the way, like, how do people move something like that? There is nothing like that. It is impeccably cut and dressed. We have no combination of machinery today that could dislodge such a weight, let alone move it any distance. This indicates mastery of a technology which we have as yet not attained. The quarries are 20 miles away, on the other side of a mountain range and a deep river gorge. How the gigantic stones were moved across such hopeless terrain is anyone's guess. You guys gotta understand, this is mountain tops, going down trails, up hills, up valleys, down rivers. Come on. And that's what he's saying. How did they do all that? Now, this is the gate from Tiwanaku. This is one of the gates. This is cut from one stone, as they were saying. All right, now we move on to El Ladrillado, Chile. We visit another site high on a plateau. A total of 233 stone blocks are placed geometrically in an amphitheater arrangement. Some as large as 12 to 16 feet high, 20 to 30 feet long, and weighing several hundred tons. And just look at those huge chairs of stone. Each weighs a massive 10 tons. Moving on, we go to Ollantaytambo, Peru. Fortress walls of tightly fitted blocks weighing 150 to 250 tons each are of very hard andesite. Special tools are required to penetrate such hard rock. The quarry is on a mountaintop 7 miles away at a 10,000 feet altitude. Would you believe the builders carved and dressed the hard stone, lowered the 200-ton blocks down the mountainside, crossed a river canyon with 1,000-foot sheer rock walls, and then raised the blocks up another mountainside to fit them in place? Do you guys listen to that? This is what they did. How did they do that? This is way more advanced than what's going on supposedly over there in Egypt. You know, it's mostly flat. Over here in the Americas, especially in this area, South America, they're going through mountain ranges. You guys got to understand, that's a lot harder. How do you move that weight in ancient times? Again, they've been lying to us about history. Wall mirrors composed of 6 gigantic masses of roseate porphyry, each weigh at least 20 tons, and one is 40 tons. All right, wall mirrors, okay? The more one studies these buildings, the more one feels that a race of scientific giants built them, all right? Scientific giants. Chanchan, Peru. This city of the Chimu Empire has walls up to 40 feet thick. Buildings were richly decorated with stylized animals, flowers, and geometric designs. All right, so before we continue, I want to show a video about what they're talking about. Little animation of what it used to look like.
The Earthen Kingdom, Chan Chan Archaeological Zone. The Chan Chan Archaeological Zone is in the desert area of Peru. It's the site of remains of the Chimu Kingdom, which thrived between the 13th and 15th centuries. Numerous palaces were built by successive kings. The city is spread over an extensive area. The buildings were made of adobe bricks. Adobe is easily eroded. The site was simultaneously inscribed in 1986 on the World Heritage List and the World Heritage in Danger List. Each palace complex has a temple and a square and forms a small town. This is the king's treasure house. The holes in the adobe blocks help air to circulate through the corridors. This building was 3 meters high when it was built. The rooms stored offerings to the king. There was no system of writing in the Chimu Kingdom. The reliefs here are thought to represent the type of items stored in the room. The seabird represents sea produce. The room with the moon was used to store gold and jewelry for the king. The gold and silver items excavated at the site are remarkable for their intricate decoration. They reflect a high level of skill among Chimu craftsmen. This artifact includes a figure of the Chimu king represented in white. These are maracas players. Here a flute player. The king is attending a banquet. Explanation for the Chimu king's success can be found in these ditches running across the field. They're the remains of irrigation channels. The Chimu kings brought snowmelt water from the Andes and converted an arid desert into a green oasis. People harvested cotton and corn in these fields. The kingdom also gained from proximity to the ocean. Local fishermen still use straw-made boats. They kneel on the boat. The same image can be seen carved in stone. The boat in the relief is surrounded by marine life. It also shows how fish were caught. The Chimu people use their natural resources. Much about their lives still remains to be discovered. Efforts to preserve the World Heritage Site here will continue alongside efforts to unravel the mysteries of an ancient culture.
All right, continuing in the book, Dead Men's Secrets by Jonathan Gray, says Machu Picchu, Peru, perched in the Andes on a razorback high above a horseshoe canyon. This is a breathtakingly beautiful sight. These fabled ruins offer romance and mystery. But just notice those squared blocks. They're 16 feet long. And look above these doors. Each granite lintel weighs 3 tons. We enter a room. Each wall is composed of a single solid megalith. All right? Listen to that. Each room is a single solid megalith carved into 32 angles, which join it to the neighboring blocks perfectly. Such walls astound modern architects. And again, you guys don't know Machu Picchu or what it looks like and where it's located, high above the mountains, high on the mountains. Again, also a very hard place to get to, especially when you're bringing such heavy stones from far away quarries. Right? Something to think about. It says here, Pachacamac, Peru. Here the temples were fastened with gold nails that weighed 1 ton each. All right? Gold nails. I mean, do you guys listen to this? Gold nails that weigh 1 ton? Pachacamac, Peru, okay? Amazon jungle, Brazil. Numerous remote cities lie between Goiás and the Roosevelt. All right, we've read about all these cities in my South American videos. All right, where we, numerous videos we've gone over what they have found down there. Again, numerous remote cities lie between Goiás and the Roosevelt. One has a triple arch formed of stone slabs, weighing at least 50 tons apiece. How did they do it? Then we got Paraíba, Brazil, a huge ruined fortress with walls over 80 feet high and 16 feet thick, and with an inner wall which once measured 492 feet long by 150 feet wide. All right? Continue a little further ahead, it says here, Mexico, about 1500 BC, stone blocks of 20 to 50 tons were brought by the Olmecs, 80 miles across the lake. Mexico, Maya ruins. Up to 80 geometric stone cities with some buildings 200 feet high. Stones of public buildings sometimes weighing up to 40 tons. Carved basalt heads weighing 24 tons. All right. Cholula, Mexico. All right. Make sure to check out my video on the Pyramid of Cholula. A couple videos, but I do have a main one. The Pyramid of Cholula is 4 times bigger than the pyramids of Egypt. The Pyramid of Quetzalcoatl was 210 feet tall. Its 1,150 foot base covers 30 acres. 30 acres. All right? That's almost equal to 16 city blocks, just one pyramid. The Cholula. Quito, Ecuador. It says the Panecillo, a big hill within the city limits of Quito, is of such size that it was always considered to be natural. Recent investigation, however, has revealed it to be a giant, unstratified, artificial mound. Okay, it's a mound. Who's the mound builders over here in Quito, Ecuador? They thought it was a hill. It's a large, high mound, 600 feet or equal to 60 stories in height. Already some surprising constructions are coming to light here. That's amazing, right, guys? So this is the Panecillo again, and you can see it's just a huge mound. They thought it was a hill, and then they have their little statue on top. I find it interesting that they put a statue there, right on the top. They knew what it was this whole time. There is the mound itself. It might even be a pyramid under there. They're saying a mound, but mounds are not only in North America. Look at this huge mound. I've seen many mounds here in Costa Rica that, they don't declare them to be, but I, can tell they're mounds. Very impressive. I mean, it does stick out. Look at it. That's a mound in Ecuador, in Quito. Look what they put on top, right? And they have built all over it. Imagine if they knew that was a mound pyramid they're on. Yeah, I find things like this very amazing. What do you guys think? Wow, look at that, right? Anybody from Ecuador watching this, did you know that was a mound you had there? Right in Quito. Quito is the capital of Ecuador. You got this beautiful, majestic mountain. That might be a pyramid. Who knows? Unless it's a volcano or something. But yeah, it looks very pyramidal. At the top of the mound, overlooking Quito. It's just amazing. It says here, Peru, Ecuador, Mexico. Granite building blocks, smoothly polished like glass. Like glass. Practically all buildings of antiquity have been stripped of their outer shiny surfaces, so that today we see only the raw stonework. We're only seeing the inside of it. They took all the nice polished granite. Arkansas, USA, carpet rock, an acre or so in size, which recently split off the Petit Jean mountainside, has a curved grid of ironwork running all through it that gives it the carpet appearance. Examination, however, shows it to be reinforced concrete, with the steel gridwork still intact and little rusted, all right? Surprising until you realize that it was sealed from oxidation until splitting off the cliff only recently. The whole cliff, carpet rock, and Petit Jean is thus seen to be one vast concrete pour, very, very old. You guys hear that? All right, so all the mud flood people, melted building researchers out there, if you find this, you're right. This is what it appears to be. This is what a lot of people are finding when they go boots on the ground. All right, the whole cliff was a vast concrete pour, which is very, very old. It was the spillway of a vast dam, which must have contained the White River and the Arkansas rivers in one great impounded lake. Does this sound like the work of semi-primitive men who had to use stone tools? All right, again, this is in Arkansas, right? They didn't do this with stone tools only, horses and vine ropes. No, the early builders obviously had sophisticated techniques. In later times, methods became more basic and building less ambitious. The earlier apparatus fell into disuse, gradually disintegrated, and was ultimately lost to memory. Ecuador and Peru, wallpaper of sheet gold, silver, and aluminum, every square inch decorated with intricate designs, figures, and scenes, and huge rolls artfully riveted together. Okay, this is what I was talking about. Today, rolls of this are being torn by Indian artifact hunters from the interior walls of long abandoned, vine-choked buildings in the inaccessible eastern jungle of Ecuador. If only one could glimpse these ancient buildings before they are all stripped, all right? And this is what they were bringing to Father Crespi. Check out my Father Crespi video, his collection of what he has found, or what the Indians actually found and brought to him in Ecuador. Go to chapter 19 now, guys, and it says engineering, forbidden tunnel. This is very interesting information here. We're talking about roads here. It says in Colombia to Ecuador to Peru to Chile, Bolivia, and Argentina, right? Listen to this. A lot of you already know about the Inca roads, but this was massive, guys. The pre-Inca highway system was the most daring in the world. Linked to a vast network of secondary roads, it reached the Amazon basin, straddled lofty mountain peaks, and connected with the coast. Its almost indestructible highways were paved with granite slabs between two stone retaining walls, straight. Instead of going around impossible barriers, it plunged through them in a direct line, crossing canyons and piercing mountains with tunnels that are still in use today. Signal stations were perched atop stupendous precipices or mountain summits with sheer 3,000-foot drops, raised over swamps. At the standard 20-foot width, one of the causeways rises 8 feet above the marshy countryside for 8 miles. Superior was this network to the Roman roads, all right? This was way superior, all right, than all these Roman roads. And it was way superior to the Egyptian pyramids and every other construction, all right? This is more advanced, letting you know here. These roads and bridges were built so well that vehicles use them today. They use them today. Talking about ancient roads. Constantly clean, they were tidy, without a single pebble or weed or wisps of straw. Total length, 19,800 miles. All right, this is amazing. Such construction could barely be accomplished by our most modern electro-turbo drills and our most rugged construction machines. They can't replicate this today, guys. All right, this was in America. Mexico, 60-mile highway from Coba to Yaxuna, paved with cement and guarded by parapets running across difficult and marshy country, and city avenues paved with stone or white cement, okay? Arizona, USA, North Canal, 9 miles, and South Canal, 7 miles at Hohokam, Pueblo Grande, were comparable to some modern canals. These ancient canals, we've been going over that in the newspaper articles, what they were finding and reporting about. Florida, USA, one canal 55 feet wide intersects sand ridges to a depth of 40 feet. North coast of Peru, a 70-mile canal was so efficiently built that it is still in use today. Yucatan, Mexico, a network of 30 canals, some up to 160 feet wide, and 25 man-made large-scale reservoirs, reveal an advanced knowledge of hydraulic engineering. All right? Guatemala, 250 BC, recent radar photography of rain forests led to the astonishing discovery of a sophisticated lattice work comprising at least 11,185 square miles of irrigation canals, which could have supported millions of people. All right, millions of people. And this is what they're finding with their LiDAR technology today, guys, and all the temples. It's just the beginning. They're releasing all the information as they go. They're admitting it'll take them hundreds of years to even go through all these sites. It's changing history. It's rewriting history, proving America's a true old world. Again, millions of people lived along these irrigation canals in Guatemala. Continuing the book, Dead Men's Secrets, says here, ancient mining tunnels, Utah, USA. Remains of coal mining drives are 8,500 feet deep. Dominica, a gold mine 16,000 feet deep, has pits extending about 6 miles. This region is far less known today than in the 15th century, when it was described by Bartholomew Columbus. Now here it comes, the chocker. Vast artificial tunnels extending for thousands of miles. All right? Yeah, you heard it right. A network of intercontinental subways beneath land and sea. This is the most astonishing and most suppressed archaeological secret, the existence of inexplicable tunnel systems beneath the surface of a great part of the earth. These are part natural and part artificial. Stories of mysterious subway systems exist in the legends, folklore, and myths of almost every country. Reports have persisted for thousands of years. We go to South America, says Peru, high in the Andes Mountains, tunnels linking Machu Picchu with other locations burrow for several miles, their walls lined with finely carved stone. One runs under the bed of the Urubamba River, Ecuador and Peru. A gigantic system of interlocking tunnels, thousands of miles in length, extends under Ecuador and Peru. It also connects Lima to Cusco and goes on to Bolivia or the sea, all right? This is tunnels that exist. Many hundreds of miles have been explored and measured. Ingeniously constructed entrances are masked beyond discovery. There are elaborate devices to trap robbers and hidden doors of carved stone with no sign of a crack or joint. The tunnels are so imposing that some conjecture them to be the work of an unknown race of giants. The Incas, at the time of the Spanish threat, deposited much of their treasure in these caves and sealed some of the entrances. Nice, we got little sources for this, remember? Bolivia. In the ruins of Tiwanaku, the 19th century naturalist Charles D. Orbigny saw the entrances of galleries leading to a secret underground city. All right, in Tiwanaku, underground city, just matching the newspaper reports in North America, right? Ecuador and Colombia. The natives speak of tunnels with cut stone walls as smooth as glass in the mountains. Some 70,000 artifacts now in a private Ecuador museum were brought by natives from tunnels near Tayos at the confluence of the Santiago and Morona rivers. Morena. So Father Crespi's collection, a lot of that, these people were saying, the indigenous people were saying, they was also finding tunnels where they're giving the gold and all the stuff they were giving to Father Crespi. So these Tayos caves are very famous, and they actually have done expeditions. They know it's a very extent cave system. They have gone with their archaeologists and all that. In August 1976, Scotsman Stanley Hall led a 70-strong team to investigate another section of the Ecuadorian tunnel system. The expedition was supported by the universities of Edinburgh and Quito, with assistance from the British and Ecuadorian armies, and accompanied by no less a celebrity than the astronaut Neil Armstrong. All right? That's a big one right there. Yeah, Neil Armstrong. Why would Neil Armstrong go with them to this expedition, an astronaut, right? The party fought its way up to the raging torrent of the Rio Santiago to arrive at the shaft where, 700 feet below, the entrance to the tunnels lay. They found the surrounding area dotted with stone pillars, some 20 feet in height and carved with strange hieroglyphics. Okay? The members of the expedition spent 2 months in the tunnel system, examined over 12 miles of tunnel. All right, 12 miles of tunnel, imagine that, and took many photographs. They also found evidence of past human presence, but no treasure. All right, and we continue in the book, Dead Man's Secrets. We're talking about underground tunnels. We're in Peru. It says in 1923, scientists from the Lima University, accompanied by experienced speleologists, entered tunnels at Cusco that advanced toward the coast. After 12 days, when one solitary member of the expedition staggered out, almost starved, to tell of a confusing underground labyrinth, his colleagues declared him mad. The police dynamited the entrance to prevent further entry and loss of life. All right, you hear what's going on? Continuing in Peru, it says in 1971, an expedition on Huascaran, the mountain of the Incas, removed heavy slabs of rock and descended 200 feet deep until blocked by 6 watertight doors, which, when pushed, pivoted on stone balls. Beyond was a tunnel lined with incredibly smooth stone, pitted and grooved. They followed it for 65 miles, guys, until the sound of surf was heard, and 80 feet below the Pacific Ocean, the tunnel was flooded. Okay. Continuing in Peru, it says, after the 1972 Lima earthquake, salvage technicians found large parts of the city to be crossed by unknown tunnels, all leading into the mountains. Their entrances were untraceable due to collapse over the centuries. All right. Yeah. So Lima actually has a lot of tunnels. Here's just a report on it. Peru.travel. It says 5 detail about the catacombs of Lima, one of the oldest in South America. Look at that. So there's tunnels all over Lima. Look at this, as you guys can see. Old world architecture. And, you know, we just live on top of it, build right on top the cities of today. Okay, Lima. Says an underground network. It is believed that due to the existence of catacombs located in the basements of nearby churches, there is a network of paths and secret passages that connect the extremes of the center of Lima. There's tunnels all over the place, which cross below the Cathedral of Lima, the Convent of San Francisco, and expand to the Convent of Santo Domingo and the Church of Santa Ana. How convenient, right? It goes to all the churches, huh? According to historical sources in the mid-18th century, Viceroy Manuel de Amari y Juníent planned to expand the crypts with the construction of new wells and niches. However, the project was not completed, and therefore many passages and roads were left unfinished in the middle of an underground necropolis. Underground necropolis, guys. Some would be found below the back gardens of the current government palace and would even reach the port of Callao. So we go back to the book, it's telling you, a lot of tunnels, unknown tunnels, all leading into the mountains. Their entrances were untraceable due to collapse over the centuries. It says here in the Amazon jungle, an explorer reported finding his way into an underground labyrinth which was illuminated as though by an emerald sun. All right, there was light inside. Before retreating, when startled by a large spider, he saw shadows like men moving at the end of the passage. Whoa. So Brazil, natives speak of the entrances to a vast network of underground tunnels in the forbidden, unexplored Roncador mountain range in the northeastern Mato Grosso. They exist at 3 different levels and are fanatically guarded by Indians. Continuing Brazil, runaway slaves used to enter a tunnel at Ponte Grosso, Paraná, and travel all the way to the Mato Grosso underground. When slavery was abolished, they returned by the same route. Continuing Brazil, the Brazilian radio and press reported the discovery of a subterranean city by a group of scientists. They entered a tunnel which opened on top of a mountain near the Paraná and Santa Catarina boundary. Instead of studying it, they fled. What did they see? Continuing, 2 ranchers in the same district, right, in Brazil, told Dr. Raymond Bernard, the American philosopher and archaeologist, that they entered a tunnel and traveled 3 days, finally descending and coming to an illuminated city in which they saw men, women, and children. Okay, this is what they're finding, right? Brazil, Theosophist of São Lourenço recount that one of their number found a tunnel entrance and traveled all the way from Peru to Brazil in a subterranean passage. Man, I don't know if I could be in a tunnel for, that far. I get a little claustrophobic, but man, that's amazing, man. So here in Brazil, numerous other supposedly true accounts of journeys through underground tunnels have been related from time to time. The tunnels are described as smooth cut and illuminated, with radiating side tunnels to ancient subterranean cities. While these are unsubstantiated reports, in the main, they agree in essential details. In March 1972, independent support to these accounts surfaced quite unexpectedly from the chief of a remote tribe. This savage, though to his own people a prince, emerged from the forest to seek out Brazilian officials and plead against the genocide of his race. It was in Manaus that he met German author Karl Brugger, an authority on South American Indians, a man who ultimately gained his trust and recorded several interviews with him, all right? And this is the story, I believe, of the city of Acacor in South America. We've gone over it a little bit. It says here, Brazil, deep in the jungles of northwest Brazil, the mysterious Uga Mongulala, again, Mongula, Gula, right, nation, are governed by their chief, Tatunka. This man reported to Brugger that in a valley high in the eastern Andes there sits a white stone city, the ancient capital of a once vast jungle empire, from which subterranean passages radiate. One runs from the great temple of the sun in Acacor, all the way under the enormous Andes range to finish at the city of Lima, Peru. All right, so look, that's a connection to one of the tunnels coming from Lima, goes to Acacor. Sunk into its light-colored walls at regular intervals are black, hour stones to mark the distance. About 1920, 80 Uga Mongulala warriors tramped for 3 months through this tunnel to emerge with bows and arrows in the very heart of Lima in a futile attempt to rescue 15 kinsmen. Not one returned. Another tunnel thrust 1,000 miles northward under the bed of the great river, the Amazon, to the ruined native city of Acajim on the eastern slopes of the Pico de Neblina near the Venezuelan border, where, according to Tatunka, a light-skinned tribe is governed by women. Indeed, white women warriors. They didn't say white, light-skinned. Don't picture like pale-skinned people till they burning in the sun. Don't picture that always when they say light-skinned. Have been encountered in the very region by explorers and surveyors over the centuries and as recently as 1973. More startling was information on the existence of 13 ancient underground cities in the Amazon headwaters. With one exception, these were artificially illuminated. The surface entrances are carefully camouflaged. Tunnels to these cities radiate from below the temple in Akakor. The cities are many days apart. The sloping walled, flat-roofed passages are wide enough for 5 men. Each city is crossed by canals carrying mountain water, with small tributaries supplying individual buildings and houses. The secret of the amazing ventilation system is unknown to the natives. Tatunka stated that 3 of these cities were currently inhabited by his tribe and their allies who had retreated underground to escape extinction. It is all too real, this extermination of the Amazon tribes. It is deliberate and systematic. One's heart aches to see their grief, their distress, their tears. Can you imagine mothers, fathers, and little children crying out? Why do the so-called white invaders want to wipe us off the face of the earth? That is exactly what is happening. Initially, these uncomplicated but intelligent people greeted Westerners with friendliness, gentleness, and smiles. Yet the so-called whites invaders were treacherous and cunning. They saw and wanted everything for themselves alone. A tree, a piece of fruit, some water, a small heap of earth. Their hearts were cold, unmoved, even when they performed the most terrible acts to obtain such things. Like ants, they advanced further up the rivers, insatiable in their hatred, greed, and hostility. In recent decades, cruel men in enormous numbers, lusting for wealth and supported by strong, highly superior arms, have advanced ever further, poisoning whole tribes by smallpox carried in pieces of candy, dynamiting jungle natives from the air, then mowing down the survivors with machine guns, and mixing the food of the Indians with arsenic and typhus virus. You hear what they've been doing in the Amazon? After 5 centuries from a former forest population of 8 million, only a few thousand are left. You hear this? Genocide. All right, so real quick, this is what I was saying. This is a book I got. I read it a long time ago, called The Chronicle of Akakor by Carl Brugger, prefaced by Eric von Däniken, all right, the guy who wrote Chariots of the Gods. And this is the script they're saying they found there with this guy, Tatanka, his name. And this is the script, supposedly, Tatunka Nara writing down the script of the ancient fathers. All right, look at that. So if you're interested, pursue that. You know, there's more on that. I might have a future video on this. Still investigating it. See what else I can find other than this book right here, you know? And so we can actually make sense out of it and make it more historical than just a myth. And here's more of the script, as they're saying. The white stone city of Akakor, right? Different cities connected by tunnels in the Amazon jungle. Akakor is one of them. This is the story of the Chronicles of Akakor, what they were just talking about. So we continue, it says, but for now our journey must resume. From all evidence, I believe we can substantiate the existence of an underground road system stretching as much as 2,500 miles from Mexico to Bolivia, with a branch line running beneath Brazil toward the Atlantic Ocean, as well as a number of subsidiary lines. This is what we're talking about, tunnels underground. It says here, North America. Not far from the town of Tanana in Alaska, Peter Frochin was shown by local Indians some crevices in the mountains which led to tunnels believed to be inhabited. The Eskimos have many legends concerning a subterranean world lit by a perpetual light. Alaska. Eskimos of Alaska and Canada insist that underground passageways connecting both Asia and the American continent running beneath the Bering Strait were used to accomplish the waves of migration from Asia. Huh? That's how they did it? You would say. Apache Indians speak of tunnels that were carved out by raids that destroyed the living rock and go underground from the USA all the way to Tijuanaco in South America. Okay? The Apaches are telling you that. It says the Mandan Indians of the Missouri region claim that they had once been in the subterranean world. Okay, we actually read that newspaper article where they were explaining that what they found in the Mandan territory, these underground caves and tunnels. We read the newspaper articles. The Sioux of North and South Dakota recalled the visit of an Indian brave to an underground city. There is an enduring tradition of subterranean passages in this region. Continuing, says about 1890, a local newspaper described the discovery of a very ancient cave near Santa Barbara, California. And we also actually read this newspaper report. Shout out to Waking Up with Analog. A large subterranean room had an immense rostrum with steps leading to a throne of marble and a canopy of gold. An adjoining chamber contained mummies, unknown inscriptions, and a ceiling of the sky in detail. Continuing, it says, at the turn of the century, an elderly Indian of the Kakrok tribe discovered a tunnel where the Mojave Desert met the Sierra Nevada range. He trailed it for miles underground. It led to a cavern illuminated by a pale yellowish-green light from an invisible source. In 1904, J.C. Brown came upon an artificial tunnel in the Cascade Mountains. The walls were lined with tempered copper and hung with shields and gold wall pieces. Other rooms contained carved drawings and writing. Bones of giant humans lay on the floor. Again, remember, we've got so many reports of this, so we know this is definitely something real. In 1935, Frank White, prospecting in the mountains and deserts of Southern California, accidentally stumbled upon a small cleft in the rocks. It opened into an underground passage with smooth, carefully crafted walls. After a half-hour's walk, a progressively brightening fluorescent green light again glowed over everything. Further on, mummified bodies dressed in leather-looking garments, as well as metal statues, lay about and against the walls, all right? This is amazing stuff they're finding. The old world right here. The Pee-Wet'eh Indians speak of people who long ago built a city beneath the stones in the Panamint mountain range in Death Valley. Continuing, various reports concern the remains of a splendid city about 75 miles northwest of Portland, Oregon, far down in the earth. It is said to be 8 to 10 miles underground and is reached by a number of tunnels which radiate from it in different directions, all right, under Oregon. We're talking about 8 to 10 miles underground. See how deep it is? In Central America, Mexico, we got a Chapis tradition that Wotan, or Wotan, right? And Odin and Wotan, just one letter. In a transatlantic visit to Spain and Rome, went by the road which his brethren, the Culebres, had bored. Example, a tunnel which traversed the Atlantic Ocean. They're saying Wotan took a tunnel to Europe. That's very interesting because I'm like, Wotan sounds a lot like Wotan, right? Wotan, W-O-T-A-N, Wodan. Like, you know, the tradition of Odin and all that. Wotan, Odan, Botan. Guatemala. Adventurer and traveler I. Lloyd Stevens was told by Indians about underground cities beyond Santa Cruz del Quinche, whose people knew the formula for the Great Light. He was taken under one of the buildings of the ruined Santa Cruz del Quinche into the entrance of one tunnel by which one could reach Mexico in an hour. What? From Guatemala. Continuing Guatemala, Fuentes in 1689 reported amazing tunnels of the most firm and solid cement more than 30 miles long in 1689, okay? Western Guatemala. A native missionary gave a dying deposition of a journey he had made through a subterranean tunnel leading to a lost city beyond the Cordilleras. Okay? This is what's going on here in the Americas, guys. All this stuff they haven't never told us about or followed up on. All the stuff they're hiding. Martinique in the Caribbean says similar strange tunnels, very ancient and of unknown origin, were brought to the attention of Christopher Columbus in 1493. Indications of the reality of these tunnels come also from Sweden, Czechoslovakia, the Balearic Islands, and Malta. Most ancient tunnel entrances are now covered by landslides. The weight of evidence suggests that whatever the reason, there were once whole cities linked by an elaborate complex of tunnels deep beneath the surface of the earth. Could it be that some of them are still inhabited? Strange noises, often resembling the throbbing of machinery, have been reported emanating from underground in England, France, Canada, Mexico, Peru, Australia, India, Africa, and certain parts of Russia. As for their origin, I say again, these remarkable achievements, so well attested, needed no astronaut help. They were the constructions of men with an advanced knowledge of engineering. All right? And that's included here in America, which is not supposed to be here, okay? Continuing here in Brazil, they put Gavea, but it's also called Gavea with a G, Gavea, Brazil. It says here a mountain carved to resemble the head of a bearded man wearing a spiked helmet. On one side of the mountain, on a small vertical face 3,000 feet in height, is a carved inscription in cuneiform characters, some 10 feet tall. It is a mystery how this was done, all right? I want to show you what they're talking about, guys. I might do a video on this one day, you know, to follow up on it some more. This is the place they're talking about, and you see right here, if you guys look right here, this is the head or the face they're talking about. Here's another angle of it, same with a beard and a face and everything. Now what he's saying is that, or what a lot of people are saying is that right here is an inscription. And it's a large inscription. They don't know how they did this. So again, this is the famous giant face of Gavea, Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. What are we looking at here? You know, with these the ancient trees, roots, stumps of ancient trees? Or what exactly are we looking at right here where they left this image? This is just so you guys can see the view from the top. This is from the top of the rock. Look how high that is. All right, and there it goes again. So this is what they're saying again, the inscription is, and they're saying it's Phoenician inscription seen from afar. In the southern part of the city of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, right beside the beach, there is a steep mountain that rises 842 meters, 2,760 feet above sea level. It has a sheer rock face and is known as Pedra de Gavea, or topsail rock in Portuguese. Besides being a beautiful sight, with rugged face and its base covered with lush tropical vegetation, it is also intriguing because it has some strange marks on its face that have been said to be man-made inscriptions. This is just one of the many alleged pre-Hispanic inscriptions found in Brazil. Today's post will review them with a critical eye. So here is the inscription next to the head, as they're saying right here. Going back to the book, that's what they were talking about here. So you guys can see that these notes are based on real stuff. You can actually look into them.